In my minimalist and frugal living journey, I have realized how easily we can end up buying things we don't really need and filling our lives with stuff if we are not mindful of our choices. So here are 25 things I'm not buying in 2025 to save money, simplify my life, and stay aligned with my values. Number one, a new phone. I've had this phone that I currently have for 6 years already, and while it is much lower than it used to be and the battery life is pretty poor, I really want to see how long it can last. At this point, it has become like a personal experiment to challenge the idea that we need to constantly upgrade to new and better ones. But of course, I'm not making any promises here, because if the phone completely dies or becomes so unreliable that it's a daily frustration, of course, I have to replace it. The second one is new books. This year, I've been using my local library more than ever before, and honestly, it has been great. They seem to have everything I need, and it's such an easy way to save money while still enjoying the habit or hobby of reading and learning. One small exception to this I could make, though, something I did this year as well, that if there's a book that isn't available anywhere else, like somebody quite unknown publishes a book, then I could buy that. Like this year, one YouTuber that I follow published a book, and of course I cannot find it in my local library or probably any library in the world, so I had to buy it, or I really wanted to buy that. But for anything else, the library for sure has me covered. It's free and keeps my home clutter-free. 3. Expensive items without research. I have had moments in the past where I kinda rushed into a purchase because I really needed that thing quickly, and later thought, could I have found a better deal? Does this even have everything I need? And what if there are some hidden costs? I think taking the time to read reviews, compare prices, and think about whether I really need something or not has saved me from a lot of money, wasted all the frustration and the hassle of returning things. So it's not always just about saving money, it can be also about just getting the feeling of confidence that the purchase you are about to make or you already made is truly worth it. Newspapers or magazines. Last year I subscribed to this personal finance magazine for the first time in my life, and it hasn't been bad, but I have realized it's not really something I need. Most of the content is aimed at people with very different lifestyles, like those buying new cars, investing in real estate, or navigating some complex tax situations, and that is just not me. There's so much free and relevant information already online that suits my needs better, that are not that like super deep or complex, and I don't want to pay for something I barely use. If I ever miss reading this kind of content, I can again just borrow magazines from the library. So for now, I am happy to let this one go. Number 5, status symbols. Designer clothes and luxury watches are just not worth it, at least in my opinion. These items are often marketed as things that bring us confidence, but if I ever feel like I need them to feel worthy or accepted, I feel like that's a clear sign I shouldn't spend money on them. Instead, I think I would be much better off investing that money in therapy or taking time for myself to reflect on why I'm feeling that way, that I am not worthy or accepted without these things. So I don't believe true confidence and self-worth comes from these flashy things. I really believe they come from within. Plus, these items often come with crazy price tags, and of course that doesn't align at all with my frugal values. I would much rather focus on things that genuinely matter to me and let go of this pressure to keep up with anyone else. 6. New bags. I really like bags or backpacks, and I use them a lot. But I have to say, I think I already have enough of them. The ones I own are very functional and work perfectly for all my needs. So adding another cool bag or any bag to my collection could be, of course, nice, but wouldn't add any real value. It would just take up space and cost me money. I would much rather save. 7. A new laptop. My laptop is 8 years old and definitely starting to show its age, it's much slower. There are a few issues here and there, some buttons missing and all that, but it still works. So just like with my phone, I don't necessarily need to replace it just yet. This laptop has been with me through so much. It has seen all my 20s, countless adventures around Europe, and I have so many memories carrying this laptop with me to different hostels and different accommodations. Coffee shop drinks. It's of course nice getting a coffee at the cozy cafe and listen to nice music, but for the most part, I have realized that it's not worth it. Making coffee at home is so much cheaper, like maybe 10 times less expensive, and I can make it exactly how I like it as well. So while I'm not saying I will never grab a coffee out again, I don't want to make this like a habit. I mean, it has not been a habit for me either. I think this year I bought coffee out like once or twice, but I would much rather keep it like this special treat, if ever, rather than some regular habit. 9. Productivity planners. I have tried using physical planners before and they just don't work for me. They often feel like more effort than they are worth. I would spend so much time trying to just keep up with the planner, like organizing it, writing things down and checking off tasks, that it would take more time away from me from getting things done. So these days I just use Google Calendar, which is simple, flexible and free. It helps me to stay organized without the extra hassle of managing a physical thing. Plus I don't have to worry about it taking so much physical space in my home or getting tossed out when the year is over. Number 10, food delivery. Food delivery apps are pretty convenient, I have to say. I used them a couple of years ago a little bit more, but now I think they're just not worth the cost anymore. The food is always more expensive in the app, and then you have to add to that price all the delivery fees, service charges, and possible tips. I rarely eat out or order takeout, but when I do, I would much rather walk to the restaurant and grab it myself. It's much cheaper, gives me a little bit of fresh air, and feels less wasteful. Delivery might save a bit of time, that is 100% true, but I have realized that at this point of my life, I would much rather save the money. 11. Mugs. I really like mugs, especially these Moomin ones that we have. They are these Finnish cartoon characters, but the truth is we already have all the mugs we need. Even though I might spot a cool new mug, especially a Moomin mug now and then, I know buying another one would just add clutter to the kitchen. So I think it's better to stick with the ones we already love and use regularly rather than letting this mug collection get out of hand. Single-use items. I really think reducing waste is important, and cutting back on single-use items is one of the easiest ways to do that. Some things like trash bags, tissues, or receipts can be quite hard to get rid of completely, but others like plastic straws, grocery bags, or sandwich bags are much easier to replace with reusable alternatives. While I know I will not be perfect in this and eliminate all single-use items, I want to avoid the unnecessary ones whenever I can. 13. Jewelry. Most days I'm at home in my comfortable clothes, and jewelry doesn't really fit into that routine, so buying more just doesn't make sense for me, even though I know they can be super cool and nice looking. 14. Overhyped health supplements. It seems like every year there's a new miracle supplement that we are suddenly told that we cannot live without. Most of the time, these products are just overhyped and definitely overpriced, and they don't even deliver on their promise, at least fully. While I think it's important to make sure you are getting the vitamins and nutrients your body needs, it's equally important to be mindful about what you buy. If a supplement is truly necessary, great, but there's no need to buy all these trendy pills just because they are popular. For me, the goal is to keep it simple, eat the veggies, and focus on actual needs. Digital news subscriptions. I think it's important to know what is happening in the world and keep yourself educated. But I also know that reading more news isn't really going to improve the quality of my life. These days I aim to read news like just a couple of minutes a day and not even every day, because that is enough to get like understanding what is happening without having to go too deep like into everything. 16. Free pens. I feel like free pencils or pens are everywhere. They're one of those things that you don't technically buy but somehow end up with anyway. Companies give them out like candy for marketing, but just because they are free or you can get something free, it doesn't mean that they are valuable. I have realized that if I picked up every free pen or every free item that I came across, I would have more than I would ever need. It's such a small thing to kind of reject these, but it's a good reminder that we don't have to take everything just because they don't have price tag. 17. Reusable bags. Tote bags and other reusable bags are great, but they're one of those things that can pile up really quickly if you are not careful. With freebies from events, store or promotions, kind of like the pens, it's so easy to end up with way more than you actually need. Realistically, you only need 2 or 3 for groceries or errands, not a whole collection taking up space. 18. Expensive barber services. I may have mentioned this in some older video, so when it comes to haircuts, I stick to the ladies that have their little shop downstairs. They do an amazing job for such a low price. Honestly, I sometimes feel that I'm getting away with a steal, but I guess that is kind of their business model, to keep the prices relatively low and the quality really high, so customers keep coming back to exactly their place. It's funny because when I was younger and had no real income except my allowance from my parents, I paid way more for haircuts than I do now. 19. Impulse purchases from cold calls. Cold call offers almost never end up being a great deal. More often than not, the prices they offer are high, or at least quite high, and with just a little bit of research, you could find the exact same product or service for much less online. What's worse is that these calls often push things I don't even need in the first place. More often than not, the company or the caller doesn't even know who I am or what I value in life. So I've learned that taking the time to think things through is always the better idea. Now I make it a habit to politely decline when they introduce themselves and just move on. Number 20. Additional screens. With the devices I already have, adding extra monitors, tablets or other gadgets just feels unnecessary and excess at this point. Unless it becomes absolutely essential for work or some other purpose, I really don't need other technological devices or any new cool tech, even if I like that stuff a lot. To me, having more screens often means spending more time indoors, staring at the screens, and less time doing offline things like going outside, enjoying nature, or reading. I prefer to keep things simple and minimize distractions, and extra screens definitely don't help with that. 21. Meat. I have been vegan for the animals for 5 years now, and it's something I am deeply committed to. It's maybe one of the deepest commitments I have, so of course I don't see that changing anytime soon either. I mentioned a couple of videos ago how Finland is the introvert paradise, but I have to say it's the vegans' paradise as well. We have so many great local plant-based alternatives that makes the lifestyle, like the vegan lifestyle, enjoyable and quite easy to stick with. I know there are people who don't see the point in choices like this, but for me it's a way to live in a way that feels much more compassionate and intentional. 22. Extended warranties for cheap items. I fell for this once and quickly realized how pointless it was. If the extended warranty costs like half as much as the item itself, what's the point? Also, many products come with the standard warranty that covers the basics, like if it breaks within some months, you will just get your money back or a new item. So paying extra for something I am unlikely to use just feels like waste of money. Number 23. Taxis, or taxi services, I could say. These are incredibly expensive, at least here, so I try to avoid them whenever I can. public transportation and walking are much cheaper, but there have been like some situations or moments where I had no choice. That's really frustrating. Like this year when I just missed the last bus at the airport because my flight was just a little bit delayed, I had to take a taxi home and it ended up costing me over 60 euros, which is more or around the same amount I spend on groceries for an entire week. You can imagine how annoyed I was, and of course that experience really stuck with me. So taxis are like a last resort for me, not something I ever really want to rely on. 24. Perfume. Perfume is one of those things that I just don't use. I have a bottle that I received as a gift 5 years ago, and I still got like half of the bottle left or more than half. For the few occasions where I do use it, like a dinner or a special event, that bottle is more than enough. So I'll stick with it until it runs out, which at this rate might take another 5 years. 25. Things on sale that I don't really need. Sale periods can be super tempting. It's easy to convince yourself that you are saving money just because something is discounted, but the truth is, even at a discount, it's still wasted money if you don't actually need or use the item. A really good question to ask yourself before buying something that is on sale is, would I buy this at full price? If the answer is no, then it might indicate that you don't even need it that much. Sales can be great for things you were already planning to buy, but for everything else, it's perhaps better to skip them or even avoid seeing the deals altogether if you can. Like, for example, Black Friday this year, I stayed away from websites where I know there are always great deals. So it has taken some practice, but avoiding unnecessary sales or unnecessary purchases has really helped me to stay more intentional with my spending. If you would like to have some more inspiration or tips when it comes to spending less and being more intentional with your money, make sure to watch this video next. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to stay kind and meaningful in your own beautiful journey. See you in the next one.